when you just say to somebody, gee, that was great, in a period of time it's forgotten. But I think the written word is there forever.
College football in the U.S. is full of a history of iconic coaches, and one of them is Bill Snyder. He reached out to you during your rookie season here in Winnipeg. Tell me a little bit about that.
I just came in to my locker one day, and I saw a note sitting there, and it said, like, Kansas State University, and I knew the handwriting right away, and I was like, I think Coach Snyder just sent me a card. His groundwork that he laid and his principles has helped get me to this point, and so now to see it all come full circle and he's seeing it, it's pretty special.
The opportunity for the greatest turnaround in college football exists here today, and it's not one to be taken lightly.
In 1988, Bill Snyder was handed the reins to a Kansas State football team that hadn't won a game in more than 2 years. In his debut season, Snyder's Wildcats secured victory once.
Near side pass to Hernandez. He got it! He got it! He got it! Touchdown! 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 K-State!
Every friend or every person that I know that's invested in football had called and said, you better get out of there. And I said, no, and I told each of them, I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I've never been more convinced that this program can be successful.
Here comes Oklahoma in a blitz. Kavanaugh lets it fly toward the end zone. Kavanaugh makes a catch, touchdown, Kansas State!
K-State became a national contender. Coach Snyder became a role model for the SCHOEN family from Overland Park, Kansas.
Tell me a little bit about Coach Snyder and kind of his place in the community in Kansas and kind of what he means to people.
He's a legend. Barry Switzer said it, you know, he's not the coach of the decade, he's the coach of the century.
You know, that was something I obviously picked up on very quickly growing up, is everything kind of revolved around Coach Snyder.
And he's in there, touchdown!
But how did Snyder turn it around? The answer is in his wallet. It's been there since day one. The Wildcats' 16 goals for success. The former coach attributes all of the team's success since 1989, and that includes 6 11-win seasons during a 7-year stretch, to the application of these values by the players.
I would test our players on them. You know, they'd take written tests. The players knew every day that one of the questions is, how did they utilize that particular value on that given day?
Of all the K-State games you attended as a kid, is there one or two that's going to stand out as the most meaningful to you?
Yeah, one that jumps off the page for sure is the Big 12 championship in 2003. You know, I was fortunate enough to get to attend that. I don't really even know how that worked out, but I was sitting probably 2 rows from the top at Arrowhead Stadium.
Touchdown! 60 yards for Darren Sproles, and Kansas State leads 20-7.
From a result standpoint, we got better and better and better. And you look at those 16 values, and we got better and better and better. And those two things tie together.
You know, he was probably about 12. One day I was up in his room, and I see him taped to the bathroom mirror. So I said, oh, so do you look at those? And he goes, yeah, those are really important values, and I try and look at them every day.
When it comes to Bill Snyder's 16 goals for success, which one do you think was most impactful on your journey?
For sure, goal number 12, no self-limitations. You know, I think that speaks to my whole story. I just never allowed anyone else to tell me I couldn't do something.
At the Division I level, SCHOEN wasn't considered an elite college prospect. However, he had one extraordinary game in the opening week of his senior year of high school. 380 yards receiving, a state record.
He had 4 touchdowns. No one blocked him, and I just said, well, it might be the guy he's playing against. I don't know if he's as good as the guy he's playing against or what the deal is.
He was the one who told me it's a no. I decided to go behind his back and go to the quarterback's coach at the time, the receivers coach at the time. But finally in April, that call came through, late April, call came through, hey, we have a walk-on spot for you, and I accepted it on the spot.
What is the opportunity of a walk-on, and what do you have to do with it?
Right. So basically, I think they get about 25 scholarships per class. They have 85 scholarships total for the whole team. Now, you can offer walk-on spots to kids who are already coming there to go to school. They have to pay their own way for school, but they have a spot on the team. And so for me, I was fortunate to have academic scholarship from K-State, which I had to maintain a 3.5 GPA for. not always easy to do in engineering as well. And so playing football was kind of putting that at risk. You know, it's like, oh, I got to spend all this time playing football when I'm paying for my own school. And you still, as a walk-on, have to do everything everyone else has to do. You know, you're at every lift you have to be at, you're at every run, you're at practice, you're staying on the sideline for home games and stuff like that, which meant the world to me. I wanted to do all that stuff, but it's still a huge time commitment.
Dalton believed he had the potential to one day be a starter for K-State.
But then you go through 2 years as you're just a scout team guy and you never play, and you kind of start to hear these murmurings and these people being like, well, it's cool that you're on the team, but you're not ever going to actually play. Those thoughts creep into the back of your mind, and that's kind of what you got to keep pushing out, and you got to keep believing, and you got to have your inner circle who still believes in you.
He's a sophomore, and he's still a walk-on. He's not on scholarship yet, and he's starting the game. And you knew, you know, that coach had him in there to block. You know, you see the ball floating out there, and you're like, that's going to Dalton. And then he catches it, and you're like, well, he's got a chance to score here.
Over the middle, completes the pass to Dalton Schoen. Schoen's got speed, racing to the end zone. Touchdown, 82 yards.
If it ends, he never, you know, ever catches another pass. That's a lifetime memory, not only for him, but for the entire family.
It was a special moment.
You know, everybody thought when he caught the ball that he was going to get caught, and he outran everybody. And it made an impression on some of our coaches who, you know, were maybe a little concerned about him being on the field.
Schoen became more than a starter. He became a captain and never looked back. 5 years later, the CFL Rookie of the Year is still shocking the football world, one catch at a time.
And I always tell them their goal should be to come in my office and laugh at me and say, I told you I was a scholarship guy. He reminds me all the time.
Growing up a huge K-State fan, you have Coach Snyder, this legend, this almost godlike figure. But in my mind, he doesn't even know who I am, right? He's just saying, you know, 83, your shirt's untucked, or something like that. You have passed a major milestone in your lifetime. May the rewards of your accomplishments bring you a lifetime This is just unreal.